Hi, this is Kamera. My first few minutes with God, day number 184, 2 Kings chapter 5 through 8. There's a lot of good stuff in today's read. Elisha, he heals this guy who has leprosy. His name is Naaman. And the way he has him to do it is he tells him to go to the Jordan River and wash 7 times. He comes back after that wash like skin like a child's. Very nice, good skin. This man Naaman, he wanted to shower Elisha with gifts. He's like, no, let's not. This is not time for that. God just needs to be glorified. Gehazi, Elisha's assistant, his servant, he chases after the man and lies and say that Elisha needs these things. He didn't. So after receiving those gifts, he goes back and Elisha was like, I saw everything. My spirit was there. So now you and your descendants will have leprosy from this point on. Isn't that something? Was it worth it, Gehazi? I'm just saying. Later, there's a prophet who was using a borrowed axe. The axe head fell off into the water. Elisha, he takes a stick, throws in where the axe fell. The axe head rises. Those things are like metal, and it rose to the surface. King Aram, he decides someone has betrayed him because the children of Israel knew exactly where his armies were mobilized, and so they avoided certain areas, or they would leave before the Arameans got there. He finds out that it's Elisha who's telling the king of Israel where they're mobilized. So he decides he wants to capture Elisha. So he has a troop to go to get Elisha. And Elisha's servant's pretty fearful. Elisha said, don't worry about that. If you, Lord, open his eyes and show him. God opens this man's eyes and he sees these horses and chariots of fires all around them, up the hills, everywhere. So there's more with Elisha than there was with those people. I like to believe there's more on our side than our enemies as well, right? Same God. And so Elisha, he prays that the Lord blinds them and this army. And so he leads them, tell them to follow him, and then tells the Lord to open their eyes there in the city of Samaria. So the king is like, should I kill him? Elisha said, it's not how we treat prisoners of war. You're going to feed them, you're going to give them drink, you're going to send them on their way. So the king, he gives them a feast and he sends them home. Isn't that something? Fast forward later on, Ben-Hadad, he is the king of Aram, and he decides he wants to besiege Samaria. And the siege was so bad that people were eating their own children and each other's children. This one lady, she cried to the king and said this lady treated her wrong. They made an agreement where they would kill her son, eat him. The next day they killed the other woman's son and eat him, but they didn't do that. They ate her son, but the other lady hid her son. Now this king got upset when he took it out on Elisha. He goes to visit Elisha and tells Elisha, what's the use of waiting on the Lord? Nothing's happening. Now, the king's been fasting and everything. What's the use of waiting on the Lord? Nothing's changing. And so Elisha tells him that this time tomorrow, everything's going to be back to normal. It's going to be ended. The officer who was with the king says, oh, that couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven. Elisha was like, okay, you're going to see it, but you're not going to have any. Yeah, so next day, what happens is you have these outcasts. It was usually the lepers. They're outcasts from the city. They decide they're going to turn themselves in, right, to the Arams, right? So when they get to their campsite, there's not a person in sight. Everything is there. Their horses, their donkeys, their food, their tents, their clothes. Everything is there. What happened was God allowed them to hear, their Arameans, to hear the sound of troops heading their way. And so they hear the galloping, they hear all the chariots. This is what they hear. Not actually happening. So they're thinking, well, the Israelites must have hired the Hittites and the Egyptians to help them out. So they ran and they left everything. They abandoned the entire camp even on foot. And so you have the outcasts, they're just enjoying themselves. They're eating, they're drinking, and they're, collecting silver and gold and their own plunder. And they get guilty. It's not right. We should have let the town know that their raiments are gone. So they go and they tell the gatekeeper. The king hears about it and sends some scouts there to scout out. And it's true fact. The raiments are gone. The siege is over. And so the people of Samaria, when they get the announcement, they start to charge out to plunder the the campsite of the Arameans. And this is the thing. Do you remember the one guy who said that can't happen even if God opens the windows of heaven? Well, he got trampled on. He heard the announcement, but he died in the trample. Don't play with God. Don't play with God. And so I thought that was pretty cool how the outcasts were the ones who discovered that their raiments were gone. So look at God, right? So God, he had called the 7-year famine in Elisha. I thought it was pretty cool. This is why I included this one, is because that woman who had that room built for Elisha told her there's going to be a 7-year famine. Take your family and go somewhere else. Well, her and her family, they went over to the Philistine territory and they stayed there. Once the famine was over, they came back. And this is the crazy part. Gehazi, he was telling the king about some of the miracles that Elisha had performed. This woman had come to the king to see if she can get all her properties back. And as Gehazi was telling the king about her situation, she walks into the palace at that time and made that request. So I love the way God prepped her and preserved her stuff. Not only did he give her everything that she lost, but also whatever she should have gotten from the crop that she missed out on. So I thank God for that. That shows us that God will take care of us in the middle of all that stuff. We don't have to worry about losing anything, right? And so Ben-Hadad, he is sick. He's sick and he wants to know if he was going to recover. So he sent his man Hazael to talk to Elisha to see if he was going to recover. So Elisha tells him, yes, he is going to recover. But Elisha starts to cry. And the reason why is because the Lord showed him everything that this man was going to do. And he told him I was going to be just a terrible person doing some terrible things. And he told him exactly what he would be doing. This man like, how? And so he told him, because you're going to be the next king. And so this man goes back, Hazael, he goes back and he tells Ben-Hadad that he is going to recover. But this is the thing. He takes a blanket, soaks it in water, and he kills the king. So now he becomes king. That's how it happened. That's terrible. And so then you have Jehoram. They go over these kings again. Jehoram, who was Jehoshaphat's son, he was 32. He reigned for 8 years. The 5th year of Joram, Ahab's son of Israel. And he does evil in the eyes of God. He's the one who married Ahab's daughter. The Edomites, they revolted around his reign, and also Libnah. Then you had Ahaziah, his son of Judah, and he became king of Judah. He only reigned 1 year, and his mother was Athaliah. That lady was something not nice. She, after her son was killed, she just went through and did some horrible things. But we're going to discuss that again later on. But there you have it, guys. That's day number 184, 2 Kings chapter 5 through 8. You have a God-filled blessed day.